Hello, I'm Father Louis Scurdy with Friends of the Word. Today's Q&A, questions and answers, and I invite you always to send in your questions, Father Louis Scurdy at hotmail.com, and I'll get them. Today's question is interesting. Reams and courses have been taught about this one word and what it means in the life of the Christian. But last week, after Mass, one of the gentlemen from the parish said to me, I have a question for you. I'm not going to email it to you, but I will if you want me to. And he eventually did. But he said, Grace, what is it? I was like, oh, do you have time? And, of course, I remember Father Duchesne at St. Mary's Seminary in Baltimore, where I studied. There's a whole course on grace. What is God's grace? And so I thought I'd give a succinct reference to it. I can't answer it completely to anybody's satisfaction, but maybe we'll give some reference points. I'm starting with the Catechism of the Catholic Church. As you know, on our program, we like to use that. We like documents of Vatican II, and of course, the Holy Scriptures, always. Because everything we believe is from the Scriptures. And then we acclimate it to our particular lives, and we grow up with learning what the Scriptures are and how to apply them to our lives. But the Scriptures never change. They're the foundation of our faith, coming to us from the early evangelists, of course, based on the word of Jesus. Now, grace. Basically, what I answered to him was, grace is, just imagine friendship with God. Let's use that as the background. The definition of grace from the glossary of the Catechism of the Catholic Church, a little heady, but hang on. It is the free and undeserved gift that God gives us to respond to our vocation to become his adopted children. So our vocation is to be Christian, and as Christians, we become the children of God, his adopted children, because we are the brothers and sisters of Jesus Christ, his only Son. As sanctifying grace, God shares his divine life and friendship with us in the habitual gift, a stable and supernatural disposition that enables the soul to live with God, to act by his love. Okay, actual grace is communion with God. Again, I want to use friendship. Friendship with God, confidence that God is with us, giving us the energy, I don't want to use the word grace, giving us the energy to live according to his love. In other words, the mandate of Jesus Christ, loving our neighbor as ourselves and loving God. As actual grace, God gives us the help to conform our lives to his will. So here it is, reflecting our relationship with Christ according to God's will. Now, always refer back to the Lord's Prayer, your will be done. So our prayer, as always, prayer of the Father from Jesus, is to the Father that his will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Who's going to carry out his will on earth? You and me, based on the relationship we have with Christ. As actual grace, God gives us the help to conform to live his will. Sacramental grace and special graces are gifts of the Holy Spirit to help us live out our Christian vocation. So, we have actual, an ordinary relationship with Christ. Sacramental grace comes to us through our participation in the mysteries of the faith, the sacraments. Each sacrament has, again, I want to use the word friendship. Each sacrament has a special bond that brings us closer to our friend God in Jesus Christ. So just imagine it as grace coming from the sacraments, different than grace living out our daily lives. So we have a superabundance of sacramental grace available through the Eucharist, through the communion of all the sacraments, through confirmation. Each sacrament has its own unique charisma. Each sacrament has its own unique way of bringing us closer to Christ. Sacrament of marriage. The couple marry each other, and they are the living sacrament to the degree that they love and respect and share life with each other. They are experiencing God's grace. Now, we can always fall out of God's grace, but that's not our focus today. Just think of grace as God's friendship with us. Further, from the Catechism of the Catholic Church, The Paschal mystery has two aspects. By his death, Christ liberates us from sin. By his resurrection, he opens for us the way to a new life. This new life, above all, justification, that reinstates us in God's grace, so that, this is a quote, so that as Christ was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father, so too might we walk in newness of life. So, through the resurrection of Jesus, any aspect of our lives that may have been divorced from God is now reintroduced. And through our faith and response to Jesus Christ, through his resurrection, we can, again, renew our friendship with God if we have fallen away. And I speak to this to Catholics, but I also speak to fallen away Catholics and even non-Catholics. Having friendship with God means everything to us. He's the creator. He keeps everything in motion, you might say. And in Jesus, his Son, we have a direct line to God the Father. Jesus comes to teach us about God and almost like brings us to the Father. It's like, hey, Father, these are my followers on earth, and my Father is your Father. That's why he says to us, when you're speaking to God, call him Abba, Father in heaven. Hallowed be your name. So, as we contemplate on grace, we recall also from the Catechism, it brings about filial adoption so that people become Christ's brethren and sisters, as Jesus himself called his disciples at the resurrection, "Go and tell my brethren." So Jesus sent his disciples to you and to me. We are brethren not by nature, brothers and sisters by blood, but by the gift of grace, God's life, God's friendship. Because that adopted filiation gains us a real share in the life of the only Son, which was fully revealed in the resurrection. So the promise of us being spiritually adopted brothers and sisters of the Father, of Jesus, and sons and daughters of the Father, come to us through the reality of the resurrection. Jesus conquered the bonds of death and welcomed us into his family. What is grace? Enjoying that welcome, enjoying the friendship that we have with God through prayer, through sacrifice, through our liturgy, through the Eucharist, through all of the sacraments, through our kindness to one another. Share God's grace and his friendship with one another. This has been Father Lou with Q&A at Friends of the Word. God bless you.